Welcome back to the final segment of Cleaning Up the Mess with guest Vasant Bharat, Minister of Food Production, Land and Marine Affairs. Mr. Bharat, there's been a great deal of talk about resurrecting our cocoa and coffee industry. Apparently we have among the best in the world and we've not done anything about it.
It's the classic story of neglect that pervades the entire agricultural sector era. At one time, in Trinidad's history, we were producing 20% of the world's production of cocoa. 35,000 tons of cocoa was being exported out of Trinidad and Tobago. Today, we are producing only 600 tons. And we are one of only 7 countries in the entire world that produces what's termed fine flavor cocoa. In fact, our cocoa is sought after by every chocolatier, every fine chocolatier across the globe. They hunt down traders who sell Trinidad cocoa and are willing to pay a premium for it. But unfortunately, over the years, we've allowed the industry to fall into dire neglect. And as a result, farmers have abandoned their fields to a large extent. In fact, yesterday, I was in the Lopino area. I spent about 5 or 6 hours with the farmers in Lopino, touring the San Jose farm and other farms in the San Jose estate and other estates up in the Lopino area. When you go there and you look at the tremendous potential that cocoa has and citrus and other fruits, you realize that in Trinidad and Tobago, we have allowed a golden opportunity with many of the things that we grow here to slip through our fingers. So cocoa is one of the areas that we're attempting to resuscitate, and we will resuscitate it. In fact, we've already brought international chocolatiers to Trinidad. Excellent. To put them together with the cocoa farmers so that we can have a direct link between cocoa farmers and the chocolatiers so that we will no longer have to go through middlemen.
Yes.
To be able to sell our products on the international market.
A visiting economist, a Nobel Prize winning economist, came to Trinidad recently and suggested that Venezuela has done so well with nationalizing its farms that maybe we should invite Venezuela in here and say, help us out, take over some of our farms, handle it for us. How do you react to that?
Well, we tried that a few years ago with the Cubans. The Cubans were supposed to have come and been the panacea to resuscitate the farming industry at Chaguaramas. Well, your story last week showed that that didn't work out too well. What I will tell you is that we have some of the best farmers in the world. They know the land, they know the crops. If they're given the right encouragement and the right motivation and the right incentives, we can be world-class producers of goods and produce in Trinidad.
And you say that we can do it ourselves. We don't really need
Absolutely.
The Venezuelans.
We don't. We just need to provide the enabling environment as a government to motivate farmers to get involved and probably more importantly, to get young people involved in farming. I spent 4 or 5 hours last week with Professor Clem Sankat and 125 students of agriculture at the university. We locked ourselves in a room with the sole purpose of understanding the challenges that agricultural students encounter when they leave university and are unable to find jobs in agriculture. Because when you think that they have spent 3 or 4 years of their lives committed to the study of agriculture and they come out with very little to do, then there's no enabling environment for them to go into their own farms, there are no jobs for them. And we spent, as I said, 4 or 5 hours locked into a room with them, and we came up and we formulated a number of proposals. One of them was that the university will restructure its agricultural course at degree level so that 1 year is spent out on a student spends a year out of the 3 years on a farm or in agro-processing or with an industrial producer like Nestle or one of those, and the government will find those jobs for those students. So when they go back and do their final year and come out, they're now then farm ready, and they also have a better indication of what area of agriculture they would like to go into, and very likely they'll be reabsorbed in the area where they did their year. So we came up with a number of resolutions. In fact, I've spoken to the university that all of the graduates who came out of the agricultural faculty this year who have not been able to find jobs, we will absorb them in the agricultural sector.
That's
and so we want
news.
Absolutely, and we want to encourage more people to get involved and more young people, because it's the young people who will embrace the technology and the new techniques that are available to make farming profitable. You know, no criticism of the older folk. They've done their bit. They have, you know, they've done a fabulous job when one compares the challenges and the hurdles that they've encountered. But it's the young people who will embrace technology and make their farms and make farming more profitable, more efficient and more productive and more profitable.
Slight change of topic. Let's talk about slash and burn. How bad is it in this country, those practices by our farmers?
It's quite bad, and it adds significantly to the flooding that we see taking place on the plains. Yesterday when I was in Lopino, there are a number of areas on the hillsides where farmers had involved themselves in an indiscriminate farming, where they've gone in and they've basically burnt the forest to the ground to be able to plant. Now what it does is when you burn those trees, you don't only create a situation for flooding subsequently, but you burn a lot of the nutrients out of the soil. So the soil becomes just a one-crop soil. So once they've planted, they've actually got to move on again, and they keep doing more of it. But again, it comes down to enforcement. If the laws aren't enforced, people will continue to do it.
And you're going to make sure that they're enforced?
Well, we have no choice but to, because you know it contributes to significant problems for the entire population.